Hello, Hero Collectors here. How's it going, everybody? Hope y'all are doing fantastic. I know I am, and today we're going to be taking a look at these two Marvel Legends action figures together. These are both from the Marvel 85th anniversary line, so we have the Skarr Deluxe figure and the Hulkbuster Super Deluxe figure. So without further ado, let's get into this review. Alright, getting into these figures, let's start off with the behemoth that is the Hulkbuster. I really like this. I was actually really shocked at how large of a figure he was. I'll try to link or have a card for when I actually picked him up and unboxed him, but I was expecting big, but this figure is massive and basically captures what I was wanting from a Hulkbuster figure. Just as a little background of me, I originally had the 3 3/4 inch Iron Man 2 Hulkbuster figure when I was younger. And that's basically a scaled down version of this design. So when this was announced, I was, of course, feeling nostalgia for this look and knew I had to have it. And getting it in hand, it's just a scaled up version of that with more articulation. And I love it. There's so much detail, all the different silver bits in the hips and elbows and all the just honeycomb pattern. There is detail all over this figure, and even on the smooth parts, it's a nice red color that matches like the comic book Extremis armor that we got last year before, can't remember. But even the gold is painted really well and still kind of matches with the molded gold bits. And even the detail that's underneath the chest armor that you have to assemble before getting it out of packaging, it all looks so well done, well sculpted, and very much captures the Hulkbuster that I was wanting. And what's even great about this is despite all that sculpting, all this bulk, all this mass, he still articulates very well. He's got a lot more crunch and back movement than I was expecting from the torso, and the arms can get a good range, even the legs can get a good range. But I will talk about something that bothers me with the leg articulation in a moment, but still, all the pictures you're probably seeing right now, I just had a fun time getting these poses, and it wasn't very hard to get them, yeah, it took a little bit of doing just because it's a larger figure, but once you get them in the pose, it looks fantastic. And I love the accessories. We, of course, had to have the base fists for punching the Hulk and whatnot. But then throwing in the slightly relaxed, slightly grip hands is nice for picking up smaller characters or in some kind of like reaction pose to something happening. And then getting the unhelmeted Tony Stark head is really nice. I did try swapping that onto other armors. It just did not look right. It seems to have been blown up for the Hulkbuster figure, even though it is a smaller head. It just does not look proportionally right on a normal Iron Man figure. But even then, I really appreciate that they threw it in with this pack. It really added something, even though I think I only took one picture of it. It just is a nice inclusion that I really do appreciate they did. But that's all the good. What do I think is the bad? Well, for starters, going back to that leg articulation, the hips tend to scuff the thigh armor when you get him kind of crouched down, and that's been a trend I've noticed on a lot of figures recently, and you can prevent it in some cases, but this one it was really hard to work around. So I have one thigh that's a little scuffed up towards the top, which bugs me a little bit, but it's not as noticeable in normal lighting and whatnot. And then the head connection. So there's not a secure like pop when the dome head is on the armor. So I'm never 100% sure if I connected it fully and if it's stable. Like right now I'm twisting it and it's stable, but there's been some times where I just go to turn it and it pops off. So it doesn't want to do that satisfying pop that most figures have, and I think part of it is the chest armor. So that neck to head connection is just a little bit of a pain, but it doesn't ruin the experience in any way. So with that, I think I'm going to give the Hulkbuster a 9 out of 10 rating. It is a very satisfying comic Hulkbuster. I know some people say, oh, that's not the accurate Hulkbuster, it should be this design. We have had the Marvel Select, which is basically the same design for years, and nobody bats an eye. This is a Hulkbuster. No matter what anybody says, in the cultural zeitgeist, I think this is now considered a Hulkbuster, whether it actually fought the Hulk or not. So, I love this Hulkbuster design, and it's my mind's eye of it because of the 3 3/4 inch figure and now this. So I'm very happy with how this turned out. And now moving on to the Skarr figure. I will say I've been wanting a new Skarr figure for a long time. I never had the original Skarr figure. That was a while before I got into collecting Marvel Legends. I was still in the Star Wars 3 3/4 inch collecting phase of my life. But getting this figure here now, it is very satisfying to have another kind of, I call them legacy characters. It's basically the next generation of heroes and like the passing of the torch in a sense of our original characters. I always enjoy those characters. Why, I don't know. It's just I always connect with them a little bit better. And Skarr was one that I did read kind of around the time it was happening, maybe a little bit later. So I really like that story where he was introduced and he gets paired up with Bruce Banner that can't turn into the Hulk, and their dynamic was always nice. So I really like Skarr for that reason. He's just a big brute that wants to hurt the Hulk, and later on I believe they reconcile. I don't know what's happened since then. I know he appeared in the Immortal Hulk series, but I did not get that far in that series. I do need to go and fully read it. But back to this figure. I am just happy to have a Skarr. So I do have some issues with this figure, but they don't outweigh my overall enjoyment of just having this character in the collection now. So what do I like about it? Well, I love that there is a brand new sculpted torso and arms. It gives the original Caliban buck a bit more, I want to say depth, like it's less flat and more kind of rounded out. And the sculpted like muscles and whatnot look a lot better now than the original Caliban body, in my opinion. Not that the Caliban body's bad, I just think this nails a Hulk physique a lot better. And all the little straps and additions to the arms and the torso and legs are really nice. I was afraid I wouldn't like the kind of stone texture in hand, but it doesn't look as bad as a lot of the photos and reviews I was seeing. I do wish it was more of a metal, like gunmetal color, but I'm still okay with how it looks here. I do really like all the accessories as well. Of course, we get some grip hands, some fist hands, the sword, the dagger, and then we've got the angry head and the more kind of moody Skarr head, and I think those capture him very well. I know a lot of people have like been joking about the moody head, but I really like it even as is. And one last thing, I think the body color is really nice. It's like a forest or kind of olive green that we haven't seen on a Hulk yet, and it separates him from the other Hulks, both Banner and She-Hulk and Amadeus Cho. He's his own unique Hulk in his own way, and that color really reflects it. But now getting into the bad of this figure, I think the crossbody is really limited. Despite him having butterfly joints, the crossbody to hold the sword needed to be better. It's really difficult to get the double-handed sword pose. There's one picture where I have him with the sword above his head, about to like bring it down on the Hulk. In the picture, I think it looks a bit better than it did in hand, because in hand his arms had to be so far back just to get the grip on the sword, and it just did not look good from other angles. Maybe it doesn't look good in the picture and I'm just kidding myself, but I think the picture, I was able to get it to look just slightly better. So crossbody on a sword wielding character needed to be better. And then the skirt. So the skirt, I know, is part of the character design. But the material that it's made out of and how it sits on the body, it doesn't allow for a lot of posing, and it doesn't want to sit super low. So it always makes his torso look super like short and his legs really long. And when you're actively posing him around, even in, more neutral stances, it always wants to sit up a little bit and just does not look good, in my opinion. But with all that being said, what do I give this Skarr figure in terms of a rating? I'm going to give it let's say 7.5, maybe 8 out of 10. It's still a fun figure. It just was a bit difficult to get poses right. The skirt and the crossbody is a big factor in that. If those would have been improved, I would have had a lot more fun in posing him. So speaking of fun, let's talk about fun factor. Do these figures have it? Well, I'm going to say with Hulkbuster, yes, I had a blast. I kept wanting to take photos. That's a big thing with me is, did I actively want to take more photos or was I moving on to the next figure? And when it came to Hulkbuster, I kept wanting to take photos. I kept wanting to give myself an excuse to play with that figure more. But with Skarr, the bads, the skirt, and the crossbody really kind of hindered my enjoyment of posing him. But not that I didn't enjoy posing the Skarr figure, it just really hindered my experience overall with getting him into the right poses I wanted. So as a recap, Hulkbuster, fun factor, yes. Skarr, no. But with all of that, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. While you're down there, make sure you like, make sure you're subscribed, and as always, I will talk to you all in another video, another post, another time.